In this tutorial, we are going to go over the payroll report, which is a report that is most customizable and most used when folks are running holistic reports to view labor cost data. The payroll report is found on the left-hand side of your screen underneath reports, and you should see it under the payroll report option right here. It's going to open up to this page. Now, for those of you that are watching this video because your payroll report now looks a little bit different than you're used to, we did move some of the settings. They used to be all listed right underneath this white bar here. Now, all of the settings are here under report options. You'll be able to choose this little drop down and see all the different settings that you're used to being able to configure. So if you're here for this video just to find out where those settings went, they are right there under report options. Your filter tab is now going to be here on the left under search instead of in the top right. And your overtime settings and your ability to see full details, that will come up once the report is actually run. For the rest of this video, we're going to go over what these settings are and what they mean so that you can determine which ones that you need to have checked and selected to get the most accurate data for your organization. The first thing you're going to want to do in a payroll report is put in your dates that you need. So if you come here to the top left, you click on this box, you'll be able to select which dates you want to run this for. I'm just going to choose the entire month of May. And then the white bar in the middle here, you're going to be able to choose the different positions you want to run. So if you want to run for all the positions that you have access to, you can do that. If you want to run just for a couple of them here, you can absolutely do that as well. So once you've chosen the positions, I'm going to go ahead and hit this play button, which actually loads the report. And you'll see for simplicity's sake, I just have one entry here and for one employee. But what you're going to be able to see is the full details of this time period. So you're going to be able to see the total amount of hours, the total cost, the total amount of employees, as well as each employee listed down the line here with their total amount of hours and their cost. Now, if anything here doesn't look quite right to you, like it's not exactly what you need to see, I would recommend going underneath report options. And here is where all the different things and options that you have to customize this report live. The first option, and probably one of the most important, is this first one, which says use time clock data. If you check this box, it's going to grab time from what people clocked in and out of within Sub It Up. If I uncheck this box, it's actually going to pull schedule data. So whatever was actually just on the schedule within Sub It Up, not what was actually clocked in and out for. Now you'll see if I do use time clock data, I have a couple extra options out of here. I have time clock notes, where if I want to actually have the what people typed in when they clocked in and out here on the report, I could have that. Their employee ID, we could have that here on the report as well. And the approval tools, which are mostly used to actually approve or deny time. So you'll see approvals are right here, the employee and the manager. Employees are able to go in and actually approve their own time. We do have separate videos that talk about that. And as a manager, if I want to approve this time, I just choose this little checkbox here, and that's going to turn it to a green check, which means it is good and approved. There are also mass approval options where it says approve all right up here in the top right. And you can also, for the entire report, hit add remove all approvals. And you can say approve all shifts for manager approvals and hit confirm. So again, super flexible and allows you to automate and do lots of approving at one time. Back to the report options. There's more general settings here. Like for instance, if you want to just order this by last name, you could do that. That's generally what people do. For overtime, this is if somebody has overtime that they clocked in for, so went over their max hours. Do you want that those wages split off into a separate column so you can kind of pull out just overtime on its own? If you have this checked, you do need to have your overtime settings turned on, which are in the top right here. And this is how the system's going to know what overtime is for your group. Is there any overtime on hours per day? Maybe it's over 8 hours per day they have overtime. And once you check this box, you'll be able to type this in. Yep, over 8 hours. Maybe overtime hours per week. If I check this box, maybe it's over 40 hours per week they would get overtime. And the next question is, what is the multiplier? If they do go over these amounts, is it time and a half? Is it double pay? So if it's time and a half, I put 1.5. If it's double pay, I'd put 2. And you can really kind of customize this from there. Okay, there's the overtime column that's separated out. If I go back to our report options here, for a lot of these things that are not just easily identifiable by what their name is, we do have these little information icons. These are actually going to tell you exactly what these mean. So for instance, combined daily might be one that you're not quite sure what that does. What this basically means is that if somebody had 3 punches on a Monday for the position lifeguards, it's going to add those together into one single entry as opposed to having it listed out 3 times. So this only really works if they clock in and out multiple times in the same position. 4 things down here, such as calculate unpaid break. This is going to be if you schedule breaks that are unpaid and the staff do not clock in and out of them. If you have this checked, the system will take out the unpaid break times that you have on the schedule. So the only reason you'd want to have this checked is if you have staff that are scheduled for breaks, but they do not clock in and out of them. You just want to take that break time automatically out of their pay. So that's why you would have this checked. For precision calculation, if you have this selected, what it's going to do is it's actually going to round to 3 decimal places for greater precision in that rounding process to get a more accurate outcome. So it's going to round to 3 decimal places, and then it's going to round again to 2. So it's going to be a little, it's a little more complicated, but you can kind of see if you hover over this question mark exactly what this means. For shift splitting, this is going to be for overnight shifts. So what this basically means is if you log in or somebody clocks in for an overnight shift, how should those shifts be shown on the report? So if I have do not split overnight shifts, if I clock in on May 1st from 10 p.m. till May 2nd on 6 a.m., all 8 of those hours are going to go on May 1st. They will not be split at all. If I have split all overnight shifts, you'd actually see those broken out into 2 entries. One from 10 to midnight on May 1st and one from midnight to 6 a.m. on May 2nd. And if you have just split on overnight shifts on start and end dates, then whatever you have loaded as our start and end date up here in the top left, that is what's going to be split. So it's only going to split those. It's not going to split anything that's in the middle of your report. But if I started this on May 2nd, those 6 hours I worked on May 2nd would come through, not the 2 I worked on May 1st. There's also an extra option to split overnight holiday shifts. This is if you have holiday pay loaded in the system and they get double pay or something like that. Would you want to split this so they're not getting, let's say they work, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. with the 10 p.m. starting on Christmas Day, you would be able to only pay them 2 hours for that extra overtime instead of the entire shift. So this is just kind of up to you. If you check this box, it will split it so they only get the holiday pay for the actual holiday time. If you do not check this box, they'll get it for the entire shift as long as it starts on the holiday. Time format, this is raw data, would be something like we see here on this report here, where it says 4.42. If I change this to hour and minute, then it's going to go ahead and say 4 hours and 25 minutes. So this is going to be, this can be changed depending on how you like to see it. You can also see both. If you choose hour and minute with, in parentheses, raw data, both of them will show up. Next up is going to be rounding. So for rounding, you can choose no rounding at all. That's totally fine. Or you can round to the nearest 1/10 of an hour, 1/4 of an hour, half hour, or full hour. So again, this is all totally up to you on what your organization does. Down at the bottom, it's going to be rounding type. This is super important. So if I have 1/4 hour selected here, rounding by time accrual would mean if I clocked in total for a shift and it was 4.4 hours, it would go up to 4.5 hours, right? If I clocked in for 4.32 hours, it would go down to 4.25. So you just kind of have to know which way you guys go. With round clock in out times, this is something that is going to be more, if you clock in at 6:54 a.m., it would round up to 7 a.m. If you clock out at 5:02 p.m., it rounds down to 5 p.m. So this is more on the specific clock in out times as opposed to the amount of time you clocked in for the shift. The last part over here are just the columns in the report. What do you need to see on this report? Do I need shift title? Do I need the clock in time? Do I need the clock out time? You're going to see back here, some of these columns are going to start going away as soon as I check or uncheck these boxes. So all these are pretty self-explanatory. You would just need to go in and choose which ones you need on the report. After I have all this configured, all these settings will save for you. So you do not have to check these settings and change them every single time you go to this report. You set them once as a manager. When you come back as a manager, these will be saved for you. The only thing you'll have to input is going to be the date range. Even the positions that you have loaded will be saved here. So everything will be saved. This is to each individual manager account. So if you set yours, if you have a colleague that also needs to run this information, they will need to set theirs too for it to be saved as well. So it goes by the manager account. What you're seeing here, the full time clock details, is going to show you everything that you have selected in these options. If I only needed to see the employee totals, I can choose that, and the individual shifts will go away, and it will just show you the amount of hours and the wage, basically. And that's it. If I have employee and position totals, it'll break this out further into each employee within each position. So some people need to see that. If I come in here and I need to do a search for anybody, I can type in either a position name or a shift title. If I have the shift title selected here, I can go ahead and search for just afternoon. I can use this search box to search for whatever I want. And as I search for things, the numbers here are going to be changing depending on what's pulled up at any given time. Lastly is going to be the export. So once you figured out exactly what you need, you've gotten your right information all loaded here, you just hit export CSV, and this is going to download right to your system with a CSV that's configurable, shareable with whatever you need it to do. And that's going to have exactly what you have listed down below here on this CSV. That is a glimpse at the payroll report, kind of going over quickly what each option does. If you've watched this video and you still have further questions and you want to talk to us about somebody, please feel free to give us a ring. Our number is 617-401-8733. You can also send us an email to support@subbitup.com. A lot of times with payroll report things, we do like to get on a phone call to just hash through exactly what you're looking for. But if there's anything on this screen that you have further questions about, just do not hesitate to reach out and let us know.